Any questions on vowels and consonants?
Page 184.
Okay.
In the first sentence, it says count from 3 to 24, and I wonder how the number 24.
On the page number again?
184.
184. Okay. The languages of the world have from 3 to 24 or more different vowel qualities that can be described in terms of vowel height, backness, and rounding. It's really hard to say too, because we know that the number of vowels is basically infinite. The number of possible vowels is infinite. But what he's saying here is that for a typical language, some languages have just 3 vowels. And there are a number of languages that have just 3 vowels. There's one language of the Caucasus where they say you could actually analyze it as having only 1 vowel, a schwa, and everything else is allophonic. That's kind of extreme, but 3 is reasonable. And 24 is a language with more vowels. So there's an endless, basically an infinite number of possible vowels, but within a certain language, a language usually won't go over 24. 24 is enough vowels for an individual language, according to the languages that we've looked at. So he's not saying that's the only thing possible, but this is basically what we found. In a single language, it will have at least 3 vowels and maybe as many as 24 within one certain language, one particular language. Okay? Anything else? Yeah. Yep. Okay.
And mid high and that unrounded because on the next page it says that so you don't have to close the symbol, but according to this explanation, I think it's a time.
Okay, so the explanation is on the next page? About where? Oh, yeah, okay. So, the symbol after the L. You're absolutely right. It's supposed to be a gamma. Absolutely, yes. And I have looked at Gaelic, actually. I've looked at it a bit. I don't know that much about it, but because we sang a Gaelic song at Christmas, remember? So that's where I learned that they do actually have that gamma. So you're absolutely right. Very good. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Yeah. There's another typo on page 178. In Swedish vowels, the word for window pane.
Window pane.
Window pane. Yeah. The phonetic alphabet for the.
Or the phonetic spelling, the phonetic symbols.
The phonetic symbol for the U should be a U with a line. Yeah, but not 2 T's.
Not 2 T's. Excellent. You can see that that was probably misread. Thank you so much. Very good. I'm so impressed that you have even looked at the table so closely, because in all these years they didn't fix this. So that's very impressive. Anything else? Typos or otherwise? Yeah.
And Peter Ladefoged said that the French le should be a rounded vowel. But when I listened to my French teacher, she said she pronounced it like schwa.
It's a rounded. Oh, okay. It really should be a rounded schwa. Because there are a lot of rounded vowels in French. I may have mentioned before. You can often recognize a French person because of their rounded lips. When they're walking around, their lips are more rounded just because they have so many rounded vowels. That sounds really silly. Doesn't sound very politically correct, but it's true. You will often be able to tell a French person. 脱口, yeah. So le livre, it should be rounded. So observe some more. Don't just listen, you have to look. And I'm sure you can find lots of videos. Just any old video on YouTube in French. It should be rounded. Yep. Anybody else? That's it? Thank you so much for pointing out the typos. We will get back to those. You know that there's a third edition, which we didn't get for this year. I have just talked to the Crane's representative, and he said they have an overstock of this book in this edition, which means next year we're still going to be using this edition. Unless, and they're using price to persuade us, because this edition costs around 500 something. Was it 600多？多少？ Okay, close to 700. Actually, originally it was like 它原价是大概1200左右. So it's still it's a good price. So close to 700. Yeah, all right. I didn't get the exact price, and I bought this, you can see, quite a long time. No, they gave me this one. Yeah.
Is it possible to book it on Amazon?
Yes, but usually the price at which these books are sold in Western countries is very high. Remember that Ladefoged is over $70 We can check on Amazon. It's very expensive, which is ridiculous. Because it's a thin book, they print it in huge quantities. They do that because it's a moneymaker. And I think that's really, I can't say quite unethical, but I don't agree with this practice at all, because a lot of people, I told you, have stopped using Ladefoged because it's gotten too expensive. But this is the book that's making them money, does not cost much to produce. So I think that's extremely unfair, unwise. They're doing that to subsidize the many books that they publish that don't sell very many copies. As for this one, there is a third edition, but if you insist on the third edition, 一本要1500一本要1500 because 他们不准备大量进口 because they want to sell off their overstock. So it doesn't make that much of a difference to me. I'm sure the new edition has some nice things that would make it worthwhile, but this one has been fine all these years. We'll probably just continue, not probably, I've already decided. We'll continue using this one next year. But if you really, really want to see the third edition, first of all, you can see a lot of it online. They have a website. And second, if you really want it, you can order it, but it may be rather expensive. Okay, anything else? Anything else? That's it. Hand in your work, please. And for next week? Okay.
On the syllabus, it says that chapter 16 was supposed to come in on Monday because next Monday is
Yeah, 对, just go according to the syllabus. I did check when I did the syllabus. I'm not thinking of it right now, so it's not good to ask me, better to ask the computer. Yeah. So I was looking at it when I made the syllabus, but I'm not thinking of it now. So definitely follow what's there. Okay, anything else? We're okay. That's it for vowels and consonants. There are a number of web pages in Phonetics 2 that we haven't covered. So I may be asking you to read some of them yourself. I want you to just go through them and pick out ones that look interesting. This is an assignment. Go through the web pages on Phonetics 2 that we haven't covered in class. Some of them are kind of fun. Some of them are review, especially the ones earlier. But there are things, for example, about synthesizing vowels and more things about spectrograms. There's one called white noise, pink noise, orange noise. That one's kind of funny. Sorry, wrong number, frequency ranges of speech and hearing. That's after the missing fundamental. There's one that's really good we probably won't do in class that I highly recommend. And that one is the McGurk effect. The McGurk effect is where your eyes will sometimes give you wrong information and override your ears. And the one about the McGurk effect is number 17. So do that yourself. That one's fun. Number 17. I'll assign that. And the other ones, just kind of have a look at them. Yeah. Okay, so after break, we're going to work on chapter 9. Okay, that's it. Take your break. We are moving on now to chapter 9. And the main things that we need to do in this chapter, first of all, we're going to learn about cardinal vowels, primary and secondary cardinal vowels. That's the first thing. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to look at unusual vowels that we don't have in English. So those are the two main things that we are going to do in this chapter. It's not that long. There's very little time left in the semester. We are really going to rush, as can be expected. This happens at the end of the semester in many classes. Mine certainly, but I know in many of my colleagues as well. We're going to go through this really fast. And if I think it's not that important, I may just summarize and we'll jump ahead. Okay? So, whose turn? Do we know? Good. Thank you very much, Tina.
Chapter 9. Vowels and vowel-like articulations. In previous chapters, we saw that there are We saw that there are three main aspects.
Not mean. You have to go from A to E. Yeah.
There are three main.
Don't go to the E too soon. You have to start at A. Ayin. Yeah, just like may to may. Start with may to may, and then add another E. Mayin. Not mean. Mayin. There we go. That was a good one. Yep.
Three main aspects of vowel quality.
Aspects.
Of vowel quality. 1. Vowel height, which is inversely proportional to the frequency of the first formant. 2. Backness, which is proportional to the difference. Proportional to the proportional.
There we go. Good.
To the difference between the frequencies of the second and first formants. And 3. The degree
Formants, because we're not done.
Formants. And 3.
3.
The degree of lip rounding. Lip rounding, which usually lowers both the second and the third formants. This chapter will discuss these three features in greater detail. And will also consider some additional less prominent feature of vowel quality.
One word after prominent.
Features.
Right.
Of vowel quality.
You read really well. I bet you can feel your progress. You can feel how much better you sound, I bet. Yeah, you sounded really good. So this is going over what we're going to start addressing, some of what we're going to address here. So vowel height, backness, lip rounding. We know that's F1, 2, and 3. We're going to talk about those in more detail and then some additional things. Some additional differences between vowels that we haven't talked about yet, okay?
Feature 4.2 in chapter.
What's the first word?
Figure.
Not figure.
Figure.
Everyone figure. Figure. In American, it's figure. In British, it's figure. Figure in British. Figure.
Figure 4.2 in chapter 4 shows the relative auditory qualities of the English vowels and diphthongs. As we mentioned at that time.
What's your N? As we
mentioned
that's better.
At that time, the precise locations of the points in this diagram reflected acoustic measurements.
Reflected acoustic. Don't go so high when it's not tonic. I'm getting really picky now. Don't go quite so high when it's not a tonic. Save the higher pitch for the tonic.
Reflected acoustic measurements,
right.
Not mere auditory impressions.
Let's make sure we understand as we go along. So 4.2, let's just go back to 4.2 so we know what he's talking about. Otherwise we won't know. Chapter 4 and 4.2. Very good. Thank you. And page what? This is not, I thought it was going to be the wrong reference. This is not what he meant. It's got to be something that shows formant data. Yeah, they really have to fix those references. All right, so it shows the relative auditory qualities of English vowels and diphthongs. That means This one is lower than that one, and that one is more front than that one. Only relative. It doesn't give us absolute data. It only shows that one is either higher or lower or more front or more back. That's really all we get from those. And it says that we didn't get those just 凭印象. How did we get them? Through acoustic measurements. We took spectrograms of those and we got the data. Go on.
It is,
In fact.
a format chart similar to that shown in.
Slow down. Similar to that shown. Why do we have to pause after that? There's another reason? No, we don't have a preposition. Right. Which is 省略了. Okay.
Similar to that shown in figure.
To that shown in figure. 它的那个节奏是这样.
Similar to that shown in shown
Good.
in figure 9.1.
9.1. All right, this time I hope he's got it right. Yes, 9.1. There we go. Next page. Go on.
Some of the acoustic measurements were the format frequencies reported in Chapter A. They were supplemented.
The first time was right.
Supplemented by measurements.
Not meh.
By measurements of the format frequencies of the other vowels and diphthongs, all taken from published sources.
Okay, that's good enough. So look at endnotes at the back of the book if you want to check. Just make sure you can find it. So what he's saying is that all of this was obtained through getting actual acoustic data. We didn't guess, 不是凭印象，不是看一下人家讲一个母音，然后自己猜大概是哪里。We got these from real acoustic data. Next.
Most phoneticians would agree that figure 9.1 is a fairly accurate reflection of both the way in which American English vowels have traditionally been described, and the way in which listeners perceive the relative auditory qualities. During the discussion of this diagram in Chapter 4, you probably made up your own mind as to the extent to which it agrees with your perception of the relative distance between vowels. Between vowels. But remember that if it seems inaccurate to you.
Once more, inaccurate.
Inaccurate.
Can you land 连音? Inaccurate.
Inaccurate.
Good.
To you, this may be because your accent is not identical to the form of American English represented in the figure.
All of you are reading so beautifully now. All of you. Sounds great. So you'll find that most people will agree that this figure is pretty accurate based on their own feeling. We got the data by collecting acoustic data from spectrograms, but if you just look at it, most people agree, yes, that looks pretty right for English. And if you disagree, it may be because your dialect's a bit different. All right, next is cardinal vowels. And by cardinal, we mean basic. It's sort of like basic. The cardinal directions are north, east, south, west. Those are the cardinal directions. Those are the basic directions. And these are the basic vowels, and they have a very special purpose, and they're not actually real vowels in any particular language. So don't be confused by that. You'll find that they're just reference points that we can use when we want to describe any language, when we want to choose symbols for the vowels of any language. We can say, this vowel seems to be closest to this cardinal vowel, so we'll pick this symbol. That's one of the main purposes of the cardinal vowels. So we can find the vowel on a chart. When we're describing something, we can say, well, it's this close to this vowel, and that way our descriptions can be more precise. Go ahead.
Cardinal vowels. When describing the vowels that occurred on a particular occasion, one may not have access to measurements of the formant frequencies. Phoneticians who want to describe the vowels of a certain dialect or of a certain speaker or of a certain
Don't go too high. That's the thing. You're going high when it's not a tonic. Everything is pretty good now except for non-tonic stresses are too high.
or of a certain speaker often have to rely on their auditory abilities.
Okay, here, auditory abilities.
Auditory abilities.
This one's like vocal cords, vocal folds. It's not really a compound, but it's dressed like a compound. They're auditory abilities. 因为 abilities 在这里比较虚. Okay? Just like political situation. Okay?
They plot the vowels on a vowel chart
On a
so that anybody familiar with vowel charts can see where the points are and can infer the quality of the vowels they are describing.
They are.
They are describing.
That's right. So if we have a vowel chart and then we're collecting data on a certain language, we're transcribing the language, we can put the vowel on the vowel chart. So other linguists will just look at it and they know right away about what that sound should be. We have a pretty good idea if you plot it on a vowel space because everybody pretty much agrees on that. Let's go on.
For a vowel chart to be truly interpretable, the vowels on it must be plotted with a reference to certain fixed points.
With reference to?
With reference to...
How many syllables?
Reference to.
With reference to.
With
This one has schwa
reference to.
illusion. Reference is not wrong, but we usually say it with to. With reference to.
With reference to
Right.
certain fixed points.
Very good.
These points must be known to both the people originally
The people, we're not done yet, so
The
don't go up. Yeah.
people originally plotting the vowels.
Plotting the vowels.
Plotting the
Why?
vowels.
Vowels is repeated. And then plotting is going to contrast with interpret descriptions. Yeah. Go ahead.
Originally plotting the vowels, and the people who are going
And the people.
and the people
People 可以高一点.
and the people
People and the people who.
and the people who are going to interpret their descriptions.
Very good.
The space within a vowel chart represents a continuum of possible qualities.
Continuum.
Continuum.
Not T. Everyone continuum. Not kung either. It's kan ending the n. Everyone continuum. And remember that just about anything you do in scholarship, we like to have categories of things, but most things exist on a continuum. So you may think that 分类是这样子分的. This is black and this is white and that's red and that's the end. But actually there's pink and there's gray. So just remember most things are on a continuum.
Before you can convey anything by saying that a certain vowel is halfway or a third of the way
Or a third of the way, contrast.
or a third of the way between one vowel and another.
Good. Another.
Another,
Right.
you must be certain that you and your readers share the same set of auditory reference vowels.
Okay. Share the same set. That's what we stress. Share the same set of auditory reference vowels. Share the same set of auditory reference vowels.
Share the
Not share.
share the same set of auditory reference vowels.
Auditory not ra. Auditory reference vowels.
Auditory reference
Re-
reference
There we go. Yep.
vowels.
Yes.
There are several
Several here 是比较有对比的作用. Yeah, we need to stress it.
there are several ways
Ways
in which
known 很重要.
non reference vowels reference vowels
Vowels.
can be provided.
All right, we're just talking now about how we can have a set of reference vowels so that everybody knows what our points should be, our landmarks should be. Go on.
In the first place, we can rely on the fact that a vowel chart shows the limits of possible vowel quality.
All right, that's important. This part is important. This shows us the limits. This is how far a vowel can go. For example, E, I can't go any more front than that. It can't be any higher, can't be any more front. 已经到极限了. So this space is showing us where the limits are. That's important to know.
Thus, a point in the extreme upper left corner of the chart represents a vowel with the highest and most front quality possible.
And most front quality possible.
And most front quality possible.
Right.
If the tongue were moved higher or more forward, a palatal consonant would be produced.
All right, so that was the example I just gave you. Try to make the E as high and as front as you can. Everybody try. E. If you push it further, it's going to turn into a Y. E. And it's not a vowel anymore. It is an approximant. Right. Okay.
A vowel in the extreme lower right corner represents the lowest and most back quality possible. Further movement of the tongue would produce a pharyngeal consonant.
A pharyngeal consonant.
Pharyngeal consonant.
All right, let's make the lowest and most back ah we can make. Ah. And if you push it any further back, you get and that's a consonant. Consonant, okay?
This gives us two fixed reference points.
Reference points.
Reference points, E and Ah. Similarly, Similarly,
right.
the points in the other two
In
the points in the other two corners of the diagram represent extreme acoustic qualities, though their articulatory definition is not simple.
That's right. So we have two really clear points of reference, and we define them articulatorily. Okay, 我们是用 articulation 来做定义。E is the highest and most front vowel we can possibly make without it turning into an approximant. And A is the most back and lowest vowel we can make without it turning into a consonant. So those are pretty straightforward. We also have extreme qualities for U and for A, but it's not quite so simple to define them articulatorily. Go on.
This use of a vowel chart is quite satisfactory for the description of vowels that are near the corners of the possible vowel area, but it does not provide enough fixed points for the description of other vowels.
Good.
Recognizing this problem, the British phonetician Daniel Jones proposed a series of 8 cardinal vowels.
Cardinal vowels.
Evenly spaced around the outside of the possible vowel area and designed to act as fixed reference points for phoneticians. See figure 9.2. In no case is the quality of a cardinal vowel exactly
Cardinal vowel. It's not a compound.
A cardinal vowel exactly the same as that of an English vowel.
All right, did you take note? None of the cardinal vowels are actual vowels in particular languages. Some languages may have vowels that are very close to some of the cardinal vowels, but they are not designed to be examples of a real vowel in any particular language. They are designed to mark the outer limits of the vowel space of our human ability to produce vowels. It just marks the outer limits. And that way we can say, well, it's so close or so far from a particular cardinal vowel, and that way we can find it in the vowel space. Okay?
It can happen that a particular language may have a vowel that is virtually identical to a cardinal vowel. Several of the vowels of a conservative form of conservative form of Parisian French are very similar.
All right, so the French of Paris is one place where we might find some vowels that are very close to our cardinal vowels, some of the cardinal vowels, okay?
But by definition, the cardinal vowels are arbitrary reference points.
Okay, good. Carol? And you can take 2 paragraphs. You can be pretty hot. I think we'll do okay. Not hot. I'm reading the word hot. I was going to say fast. It can be pretty fast, but I was looking right at the word hot as the and hot, you know. So I didn't mean for you to be hot in class. That would be very inappropriate. Okay. Go ahead.
2 of the cardinal vowels are defined in articulatory terms. In articulatory terms. Cardinal vowels 1 is produced.
No, S.
Cardinal vowel 1 is produced with the lips spread and the tongue as high and far far forward as possible without causing audible
Pause.
friction.
Without causing.
Without causing audible friction. It is therefore something like the vowel E, but with a more extreme quality. The symbol for it is also E.
The symbol for it.
The symbol for it is also E.
All right, we've already talked about that. So it's very much like E in English and Mandarin, but it's more extreme. So instead of E, 一幅, 1, 2, 3, E, it's E. Much more tense, forward, high. Keep going.
The other cardinal vowels.
Other.
The other cardinal vowel that is defined in articulatory terms is cardinal vowels 5.
S.
It's cardinal vowel 5. This vowel is made with the lips in the neutral position. In the neutral position. Neither spread nor rounded. And with the tongue as low as far back as possible.
With the tongue?
With the tongue as low and as far back as possible.
Good. Okay, be careful when there are a whole bunch of function words. Often we're not really looking at them. We sort of memorized it, but then they get garbled easily, so you have to kind of keep looking back at the text. And this is important. This vowel is made with the lips in a neutral position. Watch out. That's more important than it looks. Your lips are not particularly spread, nor are they particularly rounded. So cardinal vowel number 5, you will find, is ah, so it's not aw and it's not ah. Our lips are just fangsong. Nothing special with our lips, neither spread nor particularly rounded. So ah. Go ahead.
Accordingly, it is something like some forms of the American English vowel ah as in father, hot, or the British English vowel or as in hot.
And that's what I was looking at, yes. I was reading ahead. Okay, hot. But the problem with hot is what? It's got rounding. It's got some rounding there.
The American ah, however,
that's better.
However,
right.
is not usually made with the tongue as far back as possible, and the British or
it's not
no,
not
sorry,
quite that much.
it's not.
Yeah.
Or
Hot. Yeah.
hot, and the British or usually has a slight lip rounding. Has slight lip rounding. The symbol for the cardinal vowel 5 is ah.
All right, so those two are easy to remember. 1 is E, very extreme, and 5 is a very extreme ah. Those are easy. Go on.
Try to make cardinal vowels 1 and 5 in accordance with these descriptions. Remember to have your lips fully spread when saying E.
All right, so we do spread the lips for E, but not for ah. So E, 咧嘴, yeah.
Make sure your tongue is so close to the roof of
It's so close.
to the roof of the mouth that you would produce a voiced palatal fricative.
What's that sound? Yeah, we want some friction with E.
If you raised it any higher.
Good.
Similarly, when producing ah, make sure the tongue is pulled so far down and back in the mouth that you are almost producing a voiced pharyngeal fricative.
Yeah, okay.
Not to be confused with the glottal stop, which is
Yeah, question mark with no dot. It was really good. There's nothing to pick at except you can be a little smoother. Not to be confused with. Instead of not to be confused with, try not to be confused with. Yeah, do it again.
not to be confused.
That was better. Work on smoothing it out because your reading is so good now. Now I'm going to start picking on different details, tinier and tinier details. Okay?
Cardinal vowels 2, 3, and 4 are defined as front vowels that form a series of auditorily equidistant. I say equidistant. Anyway.
Equidistant
Steps between numbers 1 and 5. As we saw in the previous chapter, the acoustic definition of front vowels is that the distance between formant 1 and formant 2 is as great as possible. We can also specify in acoustic terms.
Can you link?
In acoustic terms,
Right.
what is meant by auditorily equidistant steps. It implies that when these 5 vowels are plotted on a formant chart of the kind we have been discussing, they will be represented by points that are equal distances apart. There are some complications in this respect that we will discuss later.
And they will probably have to do with lip rounding. Okay, your reading is also beautiful. I think you just need to work a little more on Z, because most of your S's sound like S. Some of them you're trying to voice them, but work more on voicing S's that should be voiced. Otherwise, very nice reading. Okay?
Cardinal vowels 6, 7, and 8 are defined as vowels that continue from number 5 with the same size steps as in the first part of the series. Series.
Everybody, series. They're both E. Series.
Series, but are as back as possible. That is, with as small a distance as possible. Distance as possible between formants 1 and 2.
Good.
In order to continue with these same size steps, the back vowels have to become not only increasingly
not only
increasingly higher, but also increasingly more rounded.
All right, this part is also important. The back vowels, we want the steps to be equally distant from each other. In order to do that, we're going to have to add rounding, because that will increase, or that'll make the distance between them about right. It's going to, they're going to keep getting higher, and we're also going to have more rounding. Okay?
As a result, cardinal vowel 8 is in fact the highest, most rounded possible vowel. Even though it
good pause. 或者好, we have to stop a long time.
Most rounded possible vowel. Even though it is not defined in this way.
Defined in this way.
This
不要那么重. In this way 是刚讲过的, so it's repeated. Even though it is not defined in this way. That's fine, good. So we don't define this vowel, cardinal vowel 8, in this way. It happens to have these features. It is what? The highest, most back, and most rounded possible vowel. That's not the way we define it. We define things according to the book. And we define 2 vowels auditorily. They are E and A. For U, it happens to have the features we described, but that is not the definition that we use. Can we try to make a cardinal U? Everybody try. As back, as high, and as rounded as possible. Ooh, ooh. Okay, good.
The symbols.
Not sim. Right.
The symbols for symbols.
Right.
The symbols.
That's habit. That is habit. Habit is very, very, very powerful. So you have to stop and think. And I want to share a method that I told my freshman English students today that I haven't done with this class so much, and you're more advanced anyway. But that is when you're reading a new sentence and you find that you don't have time to think of all of the compound noun stresses and all of the pauses due to phrasing and all of the stop-it-stops. There are too many things to think about, so you keep making mistakes. Then the teacher corrects you, and then you read it again, 顾此漏, 那个时笔, right? You get this one right, and then you get the other ones wrong because of habit, right? The way you avoid that is you read the sentence in your head. 就心里边那个声音，用心里边的声音来念. Read the sentence in your head until you've checked it carefully and you've fixed all of the problems that you know of. All of the compound stresses are correct. All of the stop at stops are there. All of the tonic stresses are there, etc. All of them are in there. When you hear your voice in your head and then you look at the sentence, you think, I can't think of anything else I'm going to get picked on. Okay? 我已经找不出我还会被挑的地方. Then you hear your voice reading the whole sentence correctly. And then you say it with sound. Did you all understand my description? The way this happened, I told this story this morning. I keep telling you about my British English teacher, right? Well, he is a brilliant language learner. He's just really good at language learning. I think I mentioned he learned Chinese in 2 years by himself, basically. 他就自修2年，他就可以看中文小说。I gave him a translation of a novel by 村上春树, and he got through it. He didn't check every single word, but he finished the novel after 2 years studying by himself. So he's really, really good. We were out touring in Taipei. We went to a 古宅, and they had a plate that was explaining, 这个古宅是怎样怎样. And he started reading the characters really choppily. 因为他每个字他要回想发音意思. So it was very, very choppy. And then, I said, just stop. I said, read the whole thing in your head. Read it until you remember all of the pronunciations. You don't have to think about them. And you can just read the whole sentence in 一口气. He said, okay. So we stared at it. And then he read it perfectly. And he said, oh, that works really well. He's a really brilliant language learner, and he hadn't thought of that before. And it worked perfectly for him. This morning in freshman English, students were reading, making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Okay? 你认为我烦？那那学生呢？还有他同学，他就已经烦到受不了了。But I wasn't going to let them go until they got it all right. And I already told her everything that needed to be fixed. I even wrote it on the board. And she still got it wrong. Because it was the 顾此失彼的问题，不动漏习. She would fix the thing I told her and then forget everything else. So I said, just everybody be quiet now. We're going to let her read the sentence to herself in her head without her mouth. She went over the whole sentence. Then she read it aloud, and she got it nearly perfect. This person who had gotten corrected over and over and over again, 她气质很好. She didn't complain. She didn't get angry. She didn't get impatient. She just kept getting corrected over and over again. And so I said, I'm sorry, but we're going to keep repeating it until you get it right. When she used that method, she heard herself say the whole sentence. She had everything marked in her text. Then she read it beautifully. Write this down or don't forget it. This is another application of the echo method. So instead of just battling it word by word and constantly making mistakes, hear the whole thing in your head first. Then say it, and you'll probably get it perfect. Perfect. There is another area of training where they teach you the same skill. Can you think what it might be? Something that requires you to hear something in your head first. Translation, actually, that's basically what we're doing too. Translation is another place you can use it, absolutely. It's not what I was thinking of. Or rather differently from what we're doing. That too. There you go, you got it. Exactly. Because if you make a mistake and then you play it right away without thinking very much, what happens? You're going to make the mistake again. And after you make the same mistake 4 times, what happens? It's deeply impressed in your mind. You have reinforced that mistake very deeply by the time you've made the mistake 4 times. It's going to be even harder to fix. So as soon as you discover the mistake, what should you do? Stop and what? Think through the whole thing. Hear it in your head, and then imagine your fingers, if it's piano, for example. Imagine the whole thing in your head, getting it right. And when you're sure, then play it and stop if you feel it going wrong. So you don't make the same mistake again, because you will just keep on reinforcing the wrong way. So everybody, this method works almost like magic. In Dayuan, you can imagine how frustrated everybody is when one person, especially Amy, she was the one who was complaining last semester more than once. These people don't come prepared and we waste all this class time. I told the class, I'm sorry, you're going to have to put up with this until we get it right. In that situation, she did it almost perfectly. It really, really, really works. I'm not kidding. Okay? So remember this application of the echo method. When you're having trouble, listen to yourself in your head. When you're ready, then read. We will give you time if you need it. Okay, back to what we're doing.
The symbols for cardinal vowels 2, 3, and 4 are A, and A, respectively. The symbols for cardinal vowels 6, 7, and 8 are 8 are R, O, U.
Good.
Most of these vowels have qualities, something that those of the English vowels we have been symbolizing.
It sounded a little funny. Just read it again. Most of these vowels
have qualities, something that those of something that like
yeah
something like those of the
those
of the English vowels we have been symbolizing in a similar way.
There we go.
Similar way.
Similar.
Right,
not similar. Similar should be similar. Okay?
In accordance with the principles of the IPA.
IPA, use a y for a linking sound.
IPA.
Right.
The symbols chosen for most of the English vowels are those of the nearest cardinal vowels.
So that's how we pick the symbols that we use for English. Those were the symbols closest to the cardinal vowel, or the ones most similar to a certain cardinal vowel, and we just use the symbol of the cardinal vowel. Okay.
The major exception is
exception. Look at my mouth. Exception, not exception. Exception. Don't round. Exception. There. Everyone, exception. Don't round the sh. There's too much rounding in Taiwan normally. Okay.
Is the vowel in fat, which, following the tradition of many English-speaking phoneticians, has been symbolized by a rather than rather than a.
It's not a, it's 安全的 an, okay, right. Some dictionaries actually do use that symbol though, I think. All right. Let's see if we can, I'm going to read over this one because it's not that crucial. The cardinal vowel system has been extensively used by phoneticians in the description of a wide variety of languages. There are, however, a number of difficulties. First, as Daniel Jones said in An Outline of English Phonetics, that's from 1957, the values of the cardinal vowels cannot be learned from written descriptions. They should be learned by oral instruction from a teacher who knows them. Okay, I'm giving you another assignment. I'm giving you another web page assignment. And the last one I gave you was what? Which is about McGurk. Capital M-C and then capital G-U-R-K, McGurk, the McGurk effect. All right, the other one I want to give you now is I want you to listen to the cardinal vowels. And that one is number 24. Number 24 has 3 links. Use the first 2. There's Daniel Jones and Peter Ladefoged's cardinal vowels. Actually, they're pretty much the same. And there's a lot of information there. There's Daniel Jones' voice recorded by him himself. And that's kind of interesting. The cardinal vowels sound a little bit odder than you might expect. How's our time? Maybe I should play them in class anyway so we kind of get a start on this.
Number 1. E.
Okay, and just go through them. Each one has a separate sound file.
Number 2. A.
All right, look at the 图表 on 221. Next.
Number 3.
Yeah, go ahead and repeat. Number 4.
Number 4.
You can hear a little rounding there, can't you? 6.
Number 6. Oh. Number 7. Oh. Number 8. Ooh.
All right, that's how they sound. And, okay, so we finished that paragraph. Our last reader was Yumi, right? All right?
It was for this reason that we did not suggest you try to produce a complete series of cardinal vowels immediately after reading the descriptions given above.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, listen to the recordings. I want you all to listen to the cardinal vowel recordings yourself at home. Try to find someone who can listen critically to your imitations of them. You probably have a better ear than almost anybody you can find, but you can try that. With a good assistant, it is possible to learn to produce them with a fair degree of accuracy. I don't think you'll have any problems. You sounded really good just imitating now. Another thing is, we're going to jump ahead a bit. These are not the only cardinal vowels. These are the primary cardinal vowels. Jump ahead, I also want you to listen to the secondary cardinal vowels, and you can see them in the figure on page 223. So jump ahead to secondary. We're going to go through the material very, very fast on Monday. 会很快. And they're going to have rounding that is opposite of the primary vowels, primary cardinal vowels. So that means that I, A, E, A, they are going to become U, and then the back ones, what's going to happen to those? They'll be unrounded. So we have and then All right, so listen to all of those on the recordings. My secondary ones were not that wonderful. I want you to listen to the recordings to get them right. Please read ahead in the text through cardinal vowels up until page to the end of 223. Read that ahead of time. We're not going to read it in class. I may just summarize it very, very quickly, but there's not that much more information. Just read it yourself. This is an assignment, a reading assignment. Read up to the bottom of page 223. I'll just summarize it really quickly in class, and then we're going to start on 224 and talk about vowels and other accents of English, advanced tongue root, rhoticized vowels, nasalization, summary of vowel qualities, semivowels, secondary articulatory gestures. Those are important on page 234. And then we'll be up to the exercises. We're going to finish this chapter in like 2 more classes. That will be it. It's not that big of a deal. You already know what's going on with the cardinal vowels. Read the rest yourself. There will be no problem. And then some things about other accents of English. And the secondary vowel qualities, these are really important. Secondary articulatory gestures. 那个部分真的蛮重要. Make sure you know how to use those. We need to also understand what semivowels are. Nasalization, 笔画, we've already talked about, like aya and aya, right? Rhoticized vowels, we've also talked about. Advanced tongue root on 228, you'll have to know what that is. It's sometimes controversial because people confuse what it actually means. And you need to know that stuff. 看大标题，你要知道它的重点，差不多. We'll finish it in 1 or 2 more classes. Then we'll spend the rest of the time on 10, and 11 is up to you. And then we will finish the book and be done with the class. Okay? Any questions? That's it. We will see you next Monday.